Stefanos sat at his neighborhood cafe, the same one he had been visiting every morning for years. The smell of coffee calmed him, and the gentle hum of the city in the background gave him a false sense of security. However, that morning something felt different. As he raised his cup to his lips, his eyes fell on a man walking across the street. He froze. His heart skipped a beat. It was him. Not just someone who looked like him. It was exactly him. In every minute detail. The same dark hair, the same walking style. Even the clothes were identical to what he had worn the day before. His gaze remained fixed, and without realizing it, the coffee spilled onto the table. "Are you okay?" the waitress asked, approaching with concern. Stefanos looked at her but didn't answer. His mind was buzzing. The man turned the corner and disappeared from sight. Was what he had seen real? It had to be a coincidence. Someone who just resembled him. Surely there was no other logical explanation. But over the next few days, the sight repeated itself. Every time he left his house, he saw that man. Walking the same streets Stefanos walked, visiting the same shops. At first, he watched from a distance, trying to detect some difference, something that would reveal the man as someone else. But nothing. It was him, in every way. One night, however, things took a dramatic turn. He was returning from work when he noticed the man entering his apartment. He stopped, frozen on the sidewalk. The lights inside turned on, just as Stefanos would have done. The curtain shifted. His doppelganger was inside, in his home. Stefanos, filled with tension, approached the door. The moment he placed his hand on the knob, the door swung open. And there stood himself, the other Stefanos. He stood before him, with the exact same face, the same intense stare, and looked at him with a slight, mocking smile. "It's time for you to go," said the doppelganger, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Stefanos felt a lump rise in his throat. "Who are you?" he managed to whisper. "What are you doing in my house?" The man across from him laughed, a low, threatening laugh. "Don't you understand? This isn't your house anymore. I live here now. You're just a spectator." Stefanos felt his world crumble. He tried to move, to do something, but his legs refused to obey. His double approached him, slowly, silently, and for the first time, Stefanos saw something terrifying in his eyes. This wasn't a person. It was something else, a dark entity that had taken his form. In the following weeks, Stefanos struggled to understand what was happening. His doppelganger was living his life as if nothing had changed. Going to his job, talking to his friends. Even the neighbor greeted him one day as though everything was normal. No one noticed the difference. No one wondered where the real Stefanos had gone. And then, Stefanos began to doubt himself. Was he really Stefanos? Or was he the doppelganger? Maybe everything he had experienced up to that moment was just an illusion. Stefanos started observing the small details, his own behavior. Sometimes he felt that something inside him had changed. The final confrontation came on a rainy night. Desperate, Stefanos decided to confront his double. He reached the apartment, but this time found it locked. He banged on the door in fury. His doppelganger was waiting for him. "You can't stop me," he said, a smug grin on his face. "I'm you now." Stefanos grabbed him by the throat, and the two of them struggled, falling to the floor. As they fought, the form of the other began to shift, transforming into something unnatural, a shadow that pulsated and emerged from his body. But as they fought, Stefanos began to feel himself weakening. A final thought passed through his mind, just before he lost consciousness. Was he really the real Stefanos? Or had he always been the shadow? The next morning, Stefanos woke up in his bed. Everything was as he had left it. He looked around. Life continued as normal. But was it really him? No one could say for sure, not even himself.